You wake up to the sound of an alarm you didn't choose, in a room paid for by a salary you once celebrated. The first thing you check isn't your breath or your thoughts. It's your phone. Emails, messages, calendar alerts. Somewhere between the notifications and the morning rush, you realize something unsettling. Your entire life runs on one number. Your salary. It's the number that determines where you live, what you drive, where your kids go to school, where you vacation, how you spend your weekends, and even how much risk you're allowed to take. It's the number you negotiate, defend, compare, and protect. And for most people, it's the number that quietly traps them. We're told that a high salary equals success. Study hard, get the degree, land the job, climb the ladder, earn more. Repeat. On the surface, it sounds logical. Income provides security, stability, freedom. But there's a version of this story that almost nobody talks about, the version where the salary becomes a golden cage. The trap doesn't feel like a trap at first. It feels like progress. Your first real paycheck feels like independence. You upgrade your apartment. You buy better clothes. You celebrate small luxuries. Then comes the promotion. A raise, maybe a bonus. Suddenly, your lifestyle stretches to meet your income. A nicer car, a bigger home, more subscriptions. Better restaurants. Vacations that used to be dreams now become expectations. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's subtle. No one announces it. No one warns you. It just happens. The raise that was supposed to create breathing room gets absorbed into new expenses. The higher salary creates higher commitments, and over time, those commitments hardened into obligations. A mortgage instead of rent, private school tuition instead of public, car payments instead of paid-off vehicles, a higher standard of living that quietly requires you to keep earning at that same level or more indefinitely. Now imagine this. What happens if you want to leave? Not leave the company. Leave the system. What if you want to switch industries? Start a business? Take a sabbatical? Downshift your career? What if you simply want less stress? That's when the trap reveals itself. Because when your life is calibrated to your salary, any reduction feels catastrophic. It's not just about income. It's about identity, status, and survival. Your monthly expenses don't care about your burnout. Your mortgage doesn't care about your mental health. Your car loan doesn't pause because you're exhausted. So, you stay. You stay in jobs you've outgrown. You stay in environments that drain you. You tolerate bosses you wouldn't choose to spend 5 minutes with outside work. You trade time, your most finite resource, for money that immediately exits your account to sustain a lifestyle you barely have time to enjoy. The trap is psychological as much as financial. At some point, your salary stops being compensation and starts being leverage. Not leverage you hold, but leverage held over you. It becomes the reason you can't say no, the reason you can't experiment, the reason you can't slow down. You begin to optimize your life around not losing the salary. You hesitate to speak up because you don't want to jeopardize the promotion. You overcommit to prove your value. You respond to emails at midnight. You skip vacations. You measure your worth in annual reviews and performance ratings. Somewhere along the way, your time becomes less yours. And here's the deeper layer of the trap. The more you earn, the harder it becomes to escape. Let's say you start at $50,000 a year. Doubling that feels transformative. At $100,000, you feel established. At $200,000, you feel accomplished. At $300,000, you feel indispensable. But here's the paradox. The higher you climb, the narrower the exit doors become. High-paying roles are often specialized. They demand experience that doesn't easily translate outside the corporate structure. Your network revolves around the industry. Your resume is optimized for similar roles. Your identity becomes intertwined with your title. You're not just earning a salary. You are the salary. And with that comes fear. Fear of losing status. Fear of starting over. Fear of being perceived as wasting potential. Fear of what people will say if you step down instead of up. So, even if you feel restless, you stay the course. The system reinforces this behavior. Society praises upward mobility. Friends congratulate promotions. LinkedIn celebrates milestones. Salary becomes a scoreboard, and you're competing whether you want to or not. What nobody applauds is opting out. There are no viral posts about choosing a lower-paying job for sanity. There are no awards for working fewer hours. There's no performance bonus for protecting your peace. Instead, there's subtle pressure to want more, to earn more, to expand more. Because if you're not climbing, are you stagnating? This is the trap. Growth is defined narrowly as financial growth, but life growth and salary growth are not always aligned. You might grow emotionally by spending more time with your family, but that may not increase your income. You might grow creatively by starting something small and uncertain, but that might temporarily reduce your earnings. You might grow physically and mentally by reducing stress, but that could mean stepping away from high-pressure roles. The salary trap convinces you that any move that reduces income is regression. It rarely asks whether the income is costing you more than it's giving you. Then there's the debt factor. Many people don't just grow into their salary, they borrow against it. Credit cards, car loans, mortgages sized around projected bonuses, student loans justified by future earning potential. You're not just working for today's paycheck, you're working for decisions made years ago. Decisions based on the assumption that your salary would continue, grow, and stabilize. When that assumption becomes fragile, anxiety sets in. You begin to realize that your lifestyle is a fixed expense, but your salary is not guaranteed. Companies restructure, industries shift, automation advances, AI evolves. Layoffs happen without warning. Even high performers get cut when budgets tighten. In that moment, the salary trap transforms into vulnerability. Because if you've built a life that requires a certain income level to sustain, you're not free, you're exposed. And here's another dimension. Golden handcuffs. High salaries often come with stock options, bonuses, deferred compensation, retirement matching schedules that vest over time. On paper, they look like incentives. In reality, they often function as retention tools. Just stay one more year. Wait until your shares vest. Don't leave before the bonus payout. You delay decisions that might be right for you because the financial carrot keeps moving. One more year turns into 3. 3 turns into 5. And suddenly, a decade has passed. The salary trap doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers when you say, "I'll quit after this project." It whispers when you say, "I just need to hit this number." It whispers when you say, "Once I save enough, I'll have options." But the number keeps changing. What used to feel like enough adjusts upward. Your definition of security expands as your income expands. A 6-month emergency fund becomes a year. A paid-off car becomes a luxury SUV. A modest home becomes a larger one in a better neighborhood. Your baseline resets. And the trap tightens. There's also a subtle emotional trade happening. When you earn a high salary, people treat you differently. There's respect, validation, assumptions about competence. You may be introduced with your title. Your work becomes your identity shorthand. Walking away from that feels like losing a part of yourself. So even if the job drains you, it's easier to endure the stress than confront the identity shift. But here's the truth, rarely spoken. Money is powerful, but time is irreplaceable. A salary compensates you for hours, but it cannot refund missed moments. It cannot rewind stress-induced health problems. It cannot recreate evenings lost to exhaustion. Many people in the trap don't realize they're trading their prime years for deferred enjoyment. I'll enjoy life later. I'll slow down in my 40s. I'll retire early. But later isn't guaranteed. Health changes. Priorities change. Energy shifts. The trap works because it doesn't feel urgent. Day by day, it feels manageable. The paycheck hits. The bills get paid. There's occasional comfort, enough to make it seem worth it. But zoom out 10 years. How many mornings began with dread? How many weekends were overshadowed by Monday anxiety? How many relationships absorbed the spillover of workplace stress? The salary trap rarely shows up as dramatic failure. It shows up as slow compromise. Compromise of boundaries, compromise of passions, compromise of rest. And here's a counterintuitive idea. Sometimes earning more reduces your courage. When you have little, you're scrappy. You experiment. You hustle. You're willing to try uncertain paths because there's less to lose. When you have a lot, you protect it. You avoid risk. You calculate downside. You prioritize stability over possibility. The bigger the salary, the heavier the inertia. This is why some of the most financially successful people feel the most stuck. From the outside, they have options. From the inside, they see obligations. The salary trap also reshapes how you think about freedom. Many people believe financial freedom means earning more. But often, real freedom comes from needing less. If your monthly expenses are low, your required income is low. If your required income is low, your tolerance for change increases. You can pivot, experiment, downshift. But if your expenses rise with your income, your required salary rises too, and your flexibility shrinks. It's not the salary itself that traps you. It's the lifestyle built around it. There's nothing inherently wrong with earning well. The problem emerges when the salary becomes your only strategy. If all your wealth comes from trading time for money, your earning ability is tied directly to your availability and lose the job, lose the income. That's a fragile model. Diversifying income, building assets, reducing fixed costs. These aren't just financial strategies. They're psychological strategies. They reduce the salary's power over you, because the real trap isn't high income. It's dependence. Dependence on a single employer. Dependence on a single skill set. Dependence on a single stream of cash flow. And dependence creates fear. Fear makes you compliant. Fear makes you overwork. Fear makes you tolerate misalignment. So what does escaping the trap actually look like? It doesn't necessarily mean quitting tomorrow. It doesn't require rejecting ambition. It doesn't demand minimalism in a cabin in the woods. It starts with awareness. Awareness of how much you truly need versus how much you've grown accustomed to. Awareness of which expenses bring genuine value versus which simply signal status. Awareness of whether your salary is serving your life or the other way around. It continues with margin. Financial margin. Emotional margin. Time margin. Margin gives you breathing room. It creates the ability to say no. It gives you leverage in negotiations. It softens the blow of unexpected change. Without margin, you're reactive. With margin, you're strategic. Then comes alignment. Are you earning in a way that aligns with your values? Does your work support the life you want outside it? If your salary doubled tomorrow, but your stress tripled, would it be worth it? These are uncomfortable questions because they challenge the default narrative. But they matter because one day, you might wake up and realize that the salary you fought so hard to achieve is the very thing keeping you from living the life you imagined. And that realization can be heavier than any workload. The salary trap nobody talks about isn't just about money. It's about autonomy. It's about how easily security turns into dependency, how quickly ambition turns into obligation, how subtly comfort turns into confinement. The world will continue to reward high earners. It will continue to glamorize promotions. It will continue to equate income with impact. But you get to define success differently. You can choose a life where your salary supports your priorities instead of dictating them. You can choose to grow income without inflating identity. You can build wealth without building a cage. The trap thrives in silence. It dissolves in clarity. So the next time you think about your salary, don't just ask, how can I increase it? Ask a different question. If this number disappeared tomorrow, what would remain? Your skills, your relationships, your health, your courage. Because in the end, the most dangerous trap isn't earning too little. It's earning so much and structuring your life in such a way that you forget you ever had a choice. And freedom, once forgotten, is far harder to reclaim than money ever was.